Welcome to the Now Podcast with Silly and Johnny, Episode 5, Johnny.
Episode 5, we're dubbing this one the Content Creators Edition.
That is right. We're really going to get under the skin of what content creation is all about. But you told me earlier that you just want to do a bit of an update on your Web Leaks segment from last week.
Last week we started a new segment called Web Leaks, where we seek to find out what's new on the internet, any leaks and suggestions as to new technologies. We spoke about the suggestion that Instagram were going to remove the like count from their interface. And that came about from a web leak, a user interface diagram that was demonstrated that came from one of the senior designers. And subsequently, they actually did confirm that they're rolling out a test of the like-free account in Canada only to select users. So it's gone from a leak to reality in the space of just 1 week. So that's the kind of leaks we're going to reveal on this show, Silly.
Gee, that's a big one.
Yes, and it was actually quite a controversial topic amongst us last week, where we had a slight difference of opinion whether you should have likes or shouldn't. And I've been speaking to quite a few people, and the general feeling I found was people want to see likes on their social media posts. They don't want them removed.
I'm joining them.
Whereas initially I was thinking, well, it would be quite a good thing to not have to focus on the metrics all the time. But anyway, there's a overwhelming consensus that likes are probably... Where are we, Silly? Are we at my house or yours?
No, well, for anyone that sees any of these video footage that we shoot whilst we do this podcast, we're actually changed locations today.
Yes.
You know, we've gone from Johnny's studio to Silly's studio. So we're in the Sill Marketing office here. And so we've got Johnny sitting across the desk from me, and we've got out the back in the warehouse in the workshop is Steve. So if you hear any background noise of sanding or welding and things like that, that's Steve out in the background. And we're still in the flight path though, Johnny.
Yes, I thought I just heard a helicopter go by. So that must have been that. I'm
that's
not sure.
The Sill Marketing helicopter landing on
right.
the pad to deliver lunch. So
we're going out for lunch later.
Well, no, it's delivering it to us.
Oh, okay,
they come
delivering.
to us. We don't go anywhere. They come to us.
So it's not a drone delivery; it's a helicopter delivery.
Helicopter delivery, because drone delivery doesn't
lunch.
exist. So we'll go with the helicopters.
Okay, I'll deal with that. But interesting, change of location, change of content. We're going to be talking about content creation, as we mentioned earlier. So in relation to that very topic, I thought we'd start with the definition of what content creation is. So do you want to kick us off with that one, Silly?
I can. Now, it's interesting that you can't go to the dictionary and look up the definition of content creator.
It's quite a new thing, really. That's one of the reasons.
It is, and it's really come about as a result, or the term has come about really as a result of social media. And it's really the way that I define content creation or content creator is someone that is building original content and distributing that through your social channels, your digital channels.
Yes.
So it's not someone that gets onto Facebook and shares somebody else's post. That's not creating content. It's someone that creates the actual piece, and puts that out in the public domain.
And that content can take the form of video, audio, articles, memes. There's lots of different types of content within that as well.
And sometimes a good content creators are probably across a lot of them, but 100% that it's covering all gamuts of content, from video to written word to audio, etc.
Yes, and what's interesting is that each social media platform seems to be designed to propel one type of content further than the other. So each one has its own little nuance and advantage. For example, when you're looking at YouTube, we know that's a video content creator medium. Podcasting is audio. Facebook and LinkedIn tend to be a collection of different types of media. You could have articles, although they're quite evolving as well. Like they're changing over time. Traditionally, LinkedIn used to be for articles. So people that were strong in the writing game would be more prominent in LinkedIn, but we're now seeing videos
going
and
crazy
audio
on
going crazy on LinkedIn.
Yeah, video and audio on LinkedIn is really the next big thing.
Yes.
And you're seeing more and more content creators put more video on. And personally, with the work that I do in that B2B tech space and marketing space, LinkedIn native video is massive. I think I mentioned this in the last episode, that I'm getting better results on native LinkedIn videos than, say, YouTube for that style of B2B kind of content. You know, if you've got a YouTube channel that's putting out, entertainment kind of stuff, then of course YouTube's going to be the go-to. Yes. But content creation is that it is a buzzword. and people want to label themselves as being content creator because it's sort of like a badge of honor, or it's a cool thing to be. It's interesting that I was talking to a friend of mine, and his son comes home and says, "Oh, I'm a content creator."
Yeah.
And he's 12.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of an indicator that young kids are seeing it as cool and as almost a viable career.
Yes.
Because they're watching YouTube and they're seeing all these YouTubers.
Well, that's an interesting thing, because in the 70s and 80s, kids would have been aspiring to be a musician.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing to aspire to. Now people want to be the best YouTuber, the most popular person on social media. And not, irrespective of what they're doing, they just want that popularity.
I just still want to be a rock star, though.
You still want that?
Yeah, well, I see if I'm a rock star, then I can still be a content creator as well and be on YouTube and Instagram and stuff.
Why don't you get the guitar out in the next video?
Don't tempt me. I might.
I'll get the keyboards out.
We've always threatened that,
up.
if for all of you out there, Johnny's actually quite a good musician and has recorded a lot of music, and I've always said, when am I coming in to lay down the
guitar
solos? That's what we need. Because Johnny has a lot of electronic stuff, but I just think he needs a bit of a guitar solo.
I think so. I could break the mold a bit and get into some of the traditional stuff.
We should do that one day.
Bit of Joe Satriani. What
Joe Satriani, Steve Vai.
I reckon we could throw some of that in.
Bit of
mix it up a bit.
That's what we need.
Do a remix and mash up.
Now, moving on, Johnny, about content creation. You're the tech guru.
Yes.
So let's just get into talking about some of the tech that's, for anyone that's looking at creating content.
Yep.
What's some of the basic tech that you think people need to have?
Well, these days it's becoming increasingly easier to do. The barrier to entry has been reduced significantly. You can start up on something as simple as your iPhone or Android phone and use the video camera capability or audio within, but you're going to get much better results if you invest in a basic setup, and that could include a little DSLR camera or a mirrorless camera, which might set you back anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 depending on your budget. So you're starting off with a decent camera, then some outboard audio, which always improves the audio side of your production significantly, especially, and that can't be underestimated, because when you're in noisy environments, you get the echo and air conditioning noises coming into the recording. That can be really distracting and lower the production value. So if you invest in an external microphone and a little bit of lighting, which can be bought very cheaply as well, some LED panels, they're the three elements that would really do well.
So we're talking camera,
yes,
good audio recording device, something like a Zoom,
mm-hmm.
and then a bit of lighting. If you're shooting some videos in a studio kind of setup, or in a fixed thing, perfect.
And then if you're doing the vlogging style, when you're making those purchasing decisions, thinking about the camera that has a flip out screen.
I love flip out screens.
Which you are lacking in the current A7.
A7S II doesn't have a...
Yes.
Johnny, I've said this so many times. If it's so obvious what a camera company needs to do to dominate. They just need to have touch-enabled flip out screen with good autofocus, and the vlog community, all the content creators and all the wannabe content creators will buy that camera.
Well, lots of the latest gen cameras are now starting to introduce it. The new EOS R, the Nikon Z, which are the mirrorless cameras that are in competition with Sony. I believe they have the flip-out screens.
I think they do, and
the Olympus do, or the Olympus OMD range. Mostly the new ones have flip-out. So Sony, do they have any flip-out screens at all? The Sony A7s, or
they do on some. Not on the A7 range, they don't.
They don't, okay.
We know that there's a touch screen, and the rumours about the next version of the A7S III will probably have a touch screen, we know that.
Yeah.
But whether it has a flip-out screen will be, like, if they put a flip-out screen on that camera, I always say if Sony could have the same quality autofocus as Canon, have a touch screen enabled flip-out screen, audio jack, of course, reasonable audio in it, that's it.
I think
everybody will buy it because you'll get the low light capabilities, and you'll get good audio, and you can monitor yourself in the flip out screen. Everybody will buy it.
Yeah, well that's all you need. A good camera like that, whether it's a Sony, the Canon, Nikon, whichever choice there is, they're not going to cost you too much, and it just depends on your budget. The more you can afford, just go for the best camera you can get in that category. And the lighting, not to forget simple things like a tripod to be able to place your camera and have a steady shot. And for the vloggers out there wanting to get out on the road, some kind of gimbal or handheld
gimbals are good. The other one that I've used in the past for some vlogs is a GorillaPod.
Yes.
where you can curve it and hold it. Something
Yes.
that you can,
Even something as simple
small little
as that.
tripod that you can hold it away from you to get the distance. But just talking about the vloggers out there that want to get into that form of content creation, some of my tips are you can actually use smaller cameras. You see these Canon.
The M series?
No, the GX series or
Oh,
something
yes,
like that.
yes.
And the Sony RX100 series, which
Yes.
is something I've got. And they
That's
have
really
flip-out
compact.
screens.
Yeah, true.
And they
4K video.
4K
Yeah.
video. And the Sony RX100 is a great little camera for vlogging. The audio quality is not great. There's no audio jack. But I have found workarounds in Adobe Premiere that I use for editing.
Yes.
I've created some preset EQs
Yes.
to get the sound
Really
reasonably
improves
okay.
it, yep.
But the quality, especially outdoors, is just beautiful.
Yeah.
So you can look at those style of cameras, those more compact cameras. And my theory around using compact camera with vlogging is it's transportable, and you're more likely to use it because it is so small. You can put it in
Yes.
your pocket, and you'll shoot more as a result of having it. And something like the RX100 will even shoot slow motion, 120 frames, 100 frames, depending on PAL or NTSC. So they're a good little option for a quick vlogging style camera. You can even use your iPhones and your phones. Like I've done that quite well in the past. You can buy the old selfie stick.
Yeah.
You can buy Rode microphones that attach to your
Correct. Yep.
phones, which can give you really good quality.
Yes.
If you want to go up again, you can get things like Moment lenses. Have a look at Moment lenses if you've never had a look at them, to attach to your smartphones, because the smartphones are getting better and better with their camera abilities. We talk about the Huawei. With their new Huawei and the camera quality. So you can actually get away with using what you've got to get started. And this brings us to the next point, though.
Yes. Go ahead.
Technology is one thing, isn't it, Johnny? And one thing we've experienced, I suppose, throughout our careers is people buy the gear thinking they're going to be able to do it, but it's not as simple as that, is it?
No, not often as simple as that. Having the know-how is something you can't underestimate. The amount of time required to develop an understanding of how to use it correctly, the time involved in the setup. Even, for example, setting up this podcast, it's a new environment. You've got to come in, you've got to have all the right equipment handy, and you've got to be able to set it up efficiently to get the best results. And when you're doing video shoots, it becomes more complicated because you've got lighting concerns. If you're working for a client, if you're working for a brand, there's the idea of consistency, developing a particular style of video, and there's a lot of IP involved in that. You could have all the equipment in the world, but if you don't know how to put it together, you're not going to get the result that you're expecting, which is why it's quite often worth considering partnering up with people that have that capability to relieve you of that burden. And the other thing, Celia, you know yourself how difficult it is. We've seen lots of your videos that you're doing for clients. Quite often you're doing a lot of things in that one shoot. You're setting up the lighting, setting up the cameras. You've got that capability you've built up over years with lots of experience, so you can do it. But you can't underestimate how difficult and how much pressure that puts on you, being both a presenter and being responsible for all the camera work and the audio.
Yeah.
How much more difficult is it doing it all yourself?
I've been down that road. I did a series of videos in New York.
Yes.
Sounds wonderful, doesn't it, when you say the word New York?
Yeah, it sounds impressive.
Sounds like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went to New York for a project, and I shot 8 videos in 8 days. It's shooting during the day, editing during the same day, and uploading same day.
Yes.
I did that 8 days in a row, and it almost died.
That's a lot of work.
Almost
a lot
died.
of work.
And that's me vlogging.
Yeah.
Unscripted, just shoot what I see during the day, edit it, and then get it uploaded.
And tell us about the challenges you face out in the field when you're vlogging. You've got the expectation from clients to deliver, say, a live event, particular outcome. What challenges do you come across technically that make it difficult to achieve?
The biggest challenge is light.
Yeah. I would have said that
Everything
too,
is managed
especially
in
indoors.
light.
Yeah.
At that point in time, I was using a Canon 80D camera, excellent autofocus, and flip-out screen.
Yes. Do you still have that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of my wife's.
You don't use it as much anymore.
Don't use it as much as more, generally because it's sitting at home with my wife.
Oh, okay.
But
She stole it.
but I don't use it as much because I'm using the Sony RX100, and I've moved to the Sony A7Ss for the low light capability.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm tempted to try vlogging with the Sony A7S without the flip out screen and just
wing it
But
with your autofocus.
but the biggest challenge I had was just managing the light. That you get. I was following a retail sort of tour, going to retail stores, and some of them are dark, some of them are light.
Yeah.
And these cameras can't handle dark environments.
And it's not only the cameras, silly, it's the understanding of the high levels of contrast that you face in situations like that. When you're in a retail environment, if you need to shoot something that's anywhere near the window facing the outside, you get this massive differential between the outdoor light and indoor. And then if you don't have lighting, which often you don't when you're vlogging, when you're doing handheld travel type work, you've then got to understand the camera settings well enough to accommodate that and go beyond the automatic settings.
I've got a good example of that. Yesterday, actually, I was out taking photographs in a kind of new restaurant called The Wanderer in Melbourne.
Oh, that sounds good.
It looks really cool inside.
Which suburb is that?
It's in the city.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, CBD in Lonsdale Street. 399 Lonsdale Street.
Oh, yeah.
The Wanderer.
Okay.
Brand new. Get on down there. Really cool place. And I'm taking photographs of the computer system of all things.
Yeah.
And massive contrast in lighting. And the guys that own the store, they were awesome. They were like, oh, do you need us to turn the lights up, turn the lights down or whatever?
Yes.
I said, no, it's a really nice light, but you have like spotlights. Over the bar is a spotlight, but in the background is dark, and then you've got a computer screen that's putting light out. And so normally when I shoot photographs, I leave the camera on the aperture sort of priority control. But I went full manual because I was looking for a certain look where I didn't want to blow out the screen of the monitor. I just wanted a balanced light.
Yes.
And so I had to really take over control. Fortunately, I had my tripod with me because I had to put it on there because the shutter speed was holding open for longer and that kind of thing. I didn't want to use flash lighting at all because it would just ruin the shot. So you've got to be able to roll with the punches. So really when it comes to content creators, it's great that you bought the camera, but you really need to practice. And if you go back and you look at any successful content creator, anyone that's become big on YouTube as an example, go back and have a look at their first videos.
Yeah.
Go and have a look at their first 100 videos.
You've got to start somewhere, silly. I wanted to talk about that very shortly.
Okay,
the
so
whole
we'll get more into it, but
of developing,
knowing your gear and challenging yourself. So when I went to New York and I shot these 8 days, I was learning as I went.
Yes.
And not only am I learning about camera settings, but I'm also learning on how to deliver the message as well and what to capture.
Yes.
And every job you learn something from. So as an example, nowadays with some of the work that I'm doing when I do, for example, case study videos and I'm on camera, I've moved away from trying to do it all myself.
Yeah.
I grab someone else to be the camera operator,
that makes
put
sense.
the camera on a tripod so it's nice and firm.
Yeah.
And the last two that I've done have been great. I'm really proud of the last two.
Yeah.
Because haven't had the pressure of trying to do everything.
Yeah.
And when you have to try to do everything, you've got to work quickly.
Yes.
And you have to know your gear. And it just means that it's just more pressure, and more pressure means greater chance of stuffing something up.
Yeah. And on the issue of stuffing up, you've also got to have a little bit of contingency factored into what you're doing. Even having a second camera, having a second alternate audio source if one fails. There's lots of things you can do to ensure when you're under pressure and you've only got that one chance to get the result, that you've backed yourself up if you're working on your own. It's better if you've got a team of people that can help you with that. But if you are in a situation where you're doing it yourself, just planning it ahead and thinking of what could go wrong and backing yourself up can go a long way.
Do you find, Johnny, when you go into, say you've been commissioned to do a video job, and you find that as soon as you turn up on site to wherever you've got to shoot, you just start scanning for all the problems of
it's a problem-solving situation. It's creative, but it's problem-solving. It's technical. So first of all, when you're doing interviews in an interior space, generally, if you're not involved in this type of production, you tune out to the noise of air conditioners. You tune out to freeway noise. You know what I mean? You'd think an interior space is reasonably quiet. But as soon as you put a mic and you put your headphones on and you listen to and monitor that room, it's really noisy. And you can't have that in a production because people will find it too distracting to listen to the content.
I'm a big fan of the denoiser effect.
Filter in After Effects?
Yeah, it's amazing.
The new filter is amazing.
Yeah.
The previous ones weren't as good.
The previous one, the problem was that it took like a second or so before it kicked in.
Yes.
So at the start of the clip, you'd have full background noise and then it'd cut away. This new one is awesome. I tweak it a bit.
Yes.
Like I just have it so it's just working because it can distort your voice sometimes. But that has been great.
You're right. That is a good point. You can do a lot of fix-up work in post-production, but there is an old saying in our industry, garbage in, garbage out. That does apply to some extent. So if you're getting really bad audio, and sometimes if you're in a particularly noisy environment and you haven't mic'd up the audio correctly, for example, even the distance of the microphone to the voice can make a massive difference in terms of the echo and the way that voice punches out in the mix. So you can't fix that in post-production. You can't get rid of reverb easily. I've got a few advanced filters that I can do that. But for most people, it's very difficult. You've got to be more of an audio engineer to be able to deal with serious problems. So the first tip is if you can get it right during the shoot, you're going to be in a much better situation in post-production.
True.
Having said it, there's amazing tools available in After Effects.
I'd like to thank the Adobe Premiere white balance adjustment because...
Yes, I'll be lost without. We haven't got time to white balance.
I made a mistake, Johnny.
What did you do?
I had 2 cameras and I forgot to check the white balance.
And they didn't match.
And And one was set to daylight or something. The other was on auto. And I looked at the footage and it was a pretty important shoot. And I thought, oh no.
Yes.
Something's going to go wrong here. This looks disgusting. It's really yellow.
Yeah.
And then went to do some color correction, found the white balance adjuster and it just
made all the difference.
It back, and it actually looked even better than the other footage once I adjusted the white balance. So
white balance.
But I didn't want to do that because, like you were saying, is that I had this problem and it was really bugging me. And it was affecting my workflow, affecting my efficiency.
Yes.
I was thinking, do I have to go and reshoot the whole thing, all this kind of stuff. And fortunately, I worked through the problem. And now that, again, I'm going to learn. Every time I'm going to shoot now, I've got to double check my white balance. Which, okay, it's a beginner's mistake in a kind of way. I shouldn't be making those mistakes. But moral of the story is, yes, you can try to correct certain things, but then that involves more work and more knowledge and more skill.
Yes.
If you can shoot it correctly straight out of the camera, you'll save a lot of time down the track.
Yes.
And the other challenge is like when it's great to create the content, but you've got to distribute the content and there's a process in doing that. So good content creators are using all the platforms quite well. So as an example, YouTube becomes your long form platform for long form videos.
Yep.
And then Instagram can be used to take snippets of that long form video and share that. Instagram is filling those voids, with the Instagram stories of between the videos of what you're up to and keeping the customer sort of or your audience still engaged with you. And Instagram's awesome for that. Facebook, again, you can use the snippets of videos and some maybe more long form written content. So it's not just about shooting a video or doing a social media post. Everything needs to work together. So the role of a content creator is actually more complex than most people will think.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much involved technically, like we spoke before, and now we're moving on to the strategy side of things, how you actually publish and promote your work. So what you just spoke about then is the awareness of each nuance within each social media network, what the benefits are, and what types of edit will work in each platform, what types of content, but there's also an understanding of who's there. So Instagram is a younger demographic who's more interested in the visual storytelling, the shorter concentration span, and the wow factor. So it's got to be pretty interesting content that speaks to that particular audience that you've built up over time. Whereas LinkedIn is more detailed, specific, and it really works well for B2B. So there's different opportunities with each different type of platform.
And you need to, as a content creator, you need to consider each nuance of every platform.
Yes.
And so a good content creator is actually creating content for each platform individually.
Yes.
Rather than just using the same thing across all mediums. But
having said that, you can repurpose. For example, what we're doing today is a perfect example of content creation. We're creating a podcast, but whilst we do focus on the audio and that's our major push, we set up a couple of cameras. It's very easy for us to do it. And we make sure that we repurpose little snippets of this podcast in Instagram, in Facebook, in LinkedIn, and the whole podcast, the long form one, we're trying to encourage people to head over to iTunes and check it out, which is the Now Podcast at iTunes if you haven't checked it out already.
Johnny, well done.
Okay. So it's an understanding that, yes, you can create your content once, repurpose it, but it's the way you cut it up, treat it, and affect it for each platform that makes a difference.
Well, it's very hard. It's very time consuming for a content creator to create original content for every platform daily. So the concept of long form content, breaking it down, sharing across different platforms and repurposing it in different ways is great. And things like Instagram stories and using your phone to do little video pieces that work in conjunction with, your long form content is really smart and it's really simple. And what you find is a good content creator, especially one that is comfortable on camera, will be able to do something very, very quickly utilising their mobile phone. So, I'm comfortable on camera, and if I have to do, I've done Facebook Live videos and things like that, I'll do them in one take.
Yeah.
I don't need multiple takes. So when you think about it, within 2 or 3 minutes, I can have a piece of content out into the marketplace. And that's like, we take that for granted. I've just on that point. Go back 10 years, 15 years, we didn't have any of that. We did not have that ability to actually share a thought at scale easily for free. That's what we've got. And I often say that to my customers, is that, do you understand what we've got at our disposal now?
It's amazing.
It's massive. Yeah. And so I suppose this has driven the rise of the term content creator, because now what I'm finding is there is a need to feed the beast, being social media, digital channels.
Yeah.
It only works if you can feed it.
Yeah. And let's talk about that, because frequency is one of the biggest questions I get on a daily basis with my clients. How much should I be putting out there? It's the first question. And when you tell them the figure, they take a step back and say, really?
Yeah.
Is that possible? They understand how much you need to be contributing to the networks to have any chance of being noticed.
Well, I think what it is so my philosophy is, when I get asked that question, Johnny, is the more content, the better.
Yes.
And straight away I get from the customers will say to me, but we're going to turn the customer off, we're spamming them. And I always say, it's not email.
Yeah.
We always judge this new media based on what we know, which is email. It's almost like they're looking for an excuse. Oh, no, it can't work because we're going to drive people away.
Yeah.
And what I say to them is, okay, understand that it is not email. Email has been used and abused by businesses for a long time. And we get a lot of junk. Like every day, someone's trying to sell me SEO services that I'm not interested in.
You're right.
Generally coming from offshore, various different locations, because they haven't realised the concept of spam yet, and they think we're all suckers.
Yeah.
But businesses did abuse email and went too hard with it.
There's still a place for email.
Definitely there's a place for email.
With the right approach, with the right target market, the right frequency, it's a great thing to add to the mix.
It is, but
not on a daily basis.
There's a subtle difference. Yep. With email, it comes into your inbox and disrupts you.
And guess what? You're accessing email generally when you're at work. Yep. So you're in the frame of mind of wanting to be productive and not be distracted.
Yeah.
But when you're on your phone browsing through social media, you're looking for content.
Yeah,
you're
actually out there
seeking the content.
With social channels, you choose what you want to see.
Yes.
It doesn't sit there and bombard you all the time, unless you've got notifications on that you want to find out.
Yeah.
But again, the user controls the content that they want to see. Yes. Whereas with email, they have no control. It just comes in, and then you got to press delete or unsubscribe. Right?
And it disrupts that workflow. Like I said, it's a different frame of mind that you're in. But when you're on social, you're generally looking for something to do. So if you've allocated some time, if you're waiting in between a commercial watching TV, or if you're at a bus stop, you're going to be flicking through looking for new content. Yeah. So you're proactively chasing it.
Don't forget that with all social channels, the user determines what they want to see. They have to like that page or follow that person to receive it. And when
this is not when we talk about marketing through social media, though.
No, if it's paid advertising and things like that, I'm talking about normal usage
organic
use of social media platforms.
Yes.
That if the Now Podcast Facebook page, people choose to follow that.
Yep.
Which means they want to hear from you. If I follow you, Johnny, on Instagram, that's because I'm interested in what you have to put on Instagram.
So you expect to see content from me.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's an expectation.
If you don't give me content, I'm going to be disappointed, because I want to hear from you. And so when you really analyze it and you look at it from that perspective, if you're an individual trying to build a personal brand, or do your own content creation thing and try to make some money in the long run out of it, or if you're a business, then you need to feed the beast and you need to provide continual content on a daily basis. Now, when people say to me, how often? As often as you can.
Yeah. And there's different styles of content that can help you facilitate and reach those targets. So what's become really popular now is, we spoke about it just earlier on about the technology behind it, but vlogging. So in the past, we might have had a higher expectation with production values. We might have gone into a very extensive edit this could be whether it's a personal project or a video for a business, an organization, but there's validity to producing a very short form vlog, like you mentioned earlier. If you can do it in one take and get out a 1 minute message directly to your audience, there's some content.
True.
And there's very little time involved in creating it.
Yeah.
As long as you have the core competency to do it,
yes,
then it's going to be successful.
This raises the next point.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've talked about frequency, and when we both agree that you need to feed the beast and you need to do it often. Mm-hmm. And when we mean often, we're talking about daily updates, at least daily, if not twice daily on some of the platforms. If you're doing Instagram stories, well, doing one story a day ain't going to cut it. You might need 3 or 4 or 5.
Yes.
Right? So the challenge for content creators is, what are you actually going to do?
Yeah.
I love that question, actually. I asked it to a lot of sales reps. What are you going to do to grow sales? And then you get the blank look, well, I'm going to make some phone calls.
Yeah.
But so you need to actually really concentrate on what is that content and what is your theme of your content that you're delivering to the world, and how can you keep on challenging yourself to create something that is interesting to the audience. So you still have to be good at what you do. You still need to be creative, and you need to still be able to deliver the message. And when we talk about young kids wanting to be content creators, they're watching people that are very good at it. And they want to be like that. It's like in the old days, like you're talking about music.
Yeah.
Just because I can play guitar doesn't mean I'm going to be a recording artist. I can play guitar. Am I good enough to be a recording artist? Well, if they're tone deaf, probably I'll get the gig. But it's no different to nowadays. We see the cream of the crop and they make it look easy.
Yeah.
But I challenge anyone, go out there and try it yourself and see if you can do it. And see if you can do it daily and continuing. The grind of a content creator, of a hardcore content creator, is crazy.
It is, and it involves the whole notion of mastery of your craft. Just as a musician had to take lessons, had to practice, then after 4 or 5 years, you start to see the potential. And then after a further amount of time, there's a point when they hit a sweet spot and they become proficient and expert in their field. So you can't expect to jump into this, whether you're an aspiring YouTuber, whether you're a brand looking to add some social media videos to the mix. You can't expect your first foray into the field to be incredible. You know, it's going to be a process of development till you hit that sweet spot.
Well, you have a look at Peter McKinnon, who we love on YouTube.
He's great, yeah. I haven't seen the early work, though. I'm not sure if he's involved.
Okay, so Peter McKinnon just won a Shorty Award for the, up-and-coming YouTuber kind of thing, even though he's been pretty good for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And everyone talks about him being an overnight success. But they didn't realise that he'd been producing video content for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And
it seemed like he just blew up overnight.
Yeah, but by the time he decided to have a crack at YouTube, he was a professional at it.
There you go.
So, and everyone looks and go, oh, well, how did he do it so quickly? Because he had done they always talk about, you need to do 10,000 hours worth of work to become proficient. He had done that year in, year out from a young kid. And so we see these people that we think are overnight successes. Go and have a look at, there's a young guy out of the US that I follow now and again called Tanner Fox, who does vlogging, and he's only 18. But he started when he was 12 or 13. Go back and have a look at his when he was a 13-year-old, what his videos were like. He was grinding from a young age in doing it. So again, nothing's changed in the world. If you want to make a good effort,
you've got to start somewhere, and you've got to be committed
and
to grow, learn, and develop your craft.
And okay, there are exceptions to the rule that have got extreme talent. And what you see is that, yes, it's like anything. If you have extreme talent, you're going to shine. But that's not all of us. And even those guys and girls still have to work hard at it. It is a very, very, very tough job. And if you think you're going to make millions like the PewDiePies and all that kind of stuff, guess what? You're looking at the 1%ers again when you go.
Well, let's talk about monetization, because I get that question a lot as well. There's lots of aspiring YouTube creators that come to me because I've got my own channel, and they'll often ask that question, like, how much can you make? And you hear figures like the likes of PewDiePie making millions of dollars, etc. But for your average creator, if you're getting, let's say, 1,000 views, what can you expect from that 1,000 views?
$2.
It breaks down to around anywhere from $1 to $3 for 1,000 views. So it's not a huge amount of money. So if it's
a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
1,000 people watch your video.
Yeah,
and you can buy an ice cream from it.
Yeah.
And that's about
essentially that's it.
So
for me, I see it as cups of coffee. So I've got a cryptic response when people ask how much I earn on YouTube, because it's in our terms and conditions that we're not allowed to disclose how much we earn.
or is it?
No. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can't
Well,
do
I don't earn anything.
So you don't have to say anything then.
I don't say.
But essentially, the earnings are based on your views, not your subscribers. That's the first thing you have to clarify, because people will always ask you how many subscribers, and they value subscribers over viewership. Views is what earns you the money, and the way you earn the money is simply through ads being played on your content. YouTube's one of the...
We're talking about YouTube here.
Yeah, we're talking about YouTube, who's probably the only platform that really gives you a good chance at earning money. Facebook started with an advertiser program last year. They've got a similar model, but you have to apply to be a part of it, and very few get accepted. With YouTube, they also have criteria. You need to have a minimum of 1,000 subscribers, and you need to have 4,000 views every 12 months to guarantee that you remain part of the subscriber program. Sorry, part of the advertising program.
Yeah.
So they're making it, a little bit harder. You can't just go onto YouTube, put one video up and expect to make money. It needs to be...
To be committed to the platform.
Which is what we were talking about to be a successful content creator, you need to have that approach. So in terms of what you can earn, I love my coffee, silly. I have lots of coffee. And my YouTube channel funds my coffee addiction about 4 times over. So that's a very cryptic answer. My monthly intake of coffee 4 times over is what I earn. So I could increase my coffee intake quite substantially thanks to my YouTube efforts.
But let's get a bit smarter with this.
Yes.
How many hours do you need to spend to fund that coffee addiction?
Yes.
So how much effort do you need to make on your YouTube channel to get that return for your coffee?
And this is a changing world. When I first started, if you did 1 video a week, you were doing great. Now the competition is so high that the expectation is to produce a minimum of 4 videos per week. And if you can go daily, the algorithms will favor you further, put you above your competition, and help you grow much faster, therefore produce a greater return. So it is getting harder. So the output of content now on a channel like YouTube, because of the sheer volume of content, we're talking about millions and millions of minutes of video uploaded every minute. So it's fiercely competitive. And that competition means that when you produce your work, you don't necessarily get the views because there's so many alternatives to the topic that you're talking about. So the only chance you've got is frequency, quality of content and frequency, which means that you would literally have to be working 60 to 80 hours a week to earn those cups of coffee I was talking about. That's how hard it is, unless you go viral. So when you become the next PewDiePie or whoever that YouTube star is, if that's what you're aspiring to do, if you think you've got what it takes, you do the hard yards and eventually you may get there.
So what you're saying is a lot of work and a lot of investment just to get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and it's not for the money. So you shouldn't be doing it for the money. It's great that there's a platform that rewards you. And it's like, for me, it funds my coffee addiction. I could say it funds part of the equipment that I purchased to do the productions, whatever. There's a small return for me, which makes it worthwhile financially. But it's not about that for me. It's about the strategy of social media that we spoke about before, that I'm able to produce content that speaks to my clients, potential clients, my network that will then engage me for creative services. Yeah. So there's a great benefit outside of the revenue stream in YouTube. Well, that's nice to have.
That's a very good point, Johnny, that it's not just about revenue that you can generate through, say, YouTube advertising. It's the flow-on effect. And what we see is if you build an audience, more and more companies are looking to partner with people that have that audience.
Yes.
So one of the biggest things that I always will tell someone is that's looking at becoming a content creator and really trying to make a career out of it is you need to do the hard yards to build an audience.
Yes.
When you build that audience, you can then command dollars.
Yes.
So a lot of the YouTubers are making money out of brand deals.
Yeah.
But you ain't going to get a brand deal if you've got 10,000 subscribers and 5,000 views.
You will get approached by companies and you'll get offered free product. And that happens to me a lot, and that's okay. Sometimes it's worthwhile. But you're not going to make big, brand deals.
You're buying your spaghetti bolognese at the restaurant on the back of freebies.
So we've gone from coffee to spaghetti bolognese.
Oh, because I love spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah, we're yet to see a Mercedes. We're yet to see a yacht out of this.
We're waiting for the boat.
We're waiting for the boat.
But again, like you think about it. If a company that makes boats was going to hand out a boat to somebody to use, they're going to sit there and say, well, that's a massive investment. There's a lot of money in the boat. That person that we're partnered with has to be damn good and have a really good audience.
Yes.
So every effort of every content creator, if they aspire to be at that level, has to be on creating really good content. It's actually no different to developing a television program.
Yeah.
That in television, only the best programs will fly.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing is with YouTube is you don't get axed off YouTube.
Yeah.
So we
You
saw
keep
recently
going,
the footy show in Australia for the AFL football, Australian League. It was axed only a couple of days ago. And that was after like 25 years or something of being on air because people just didn't want to watch it anymore.
Yeah.
Now, on YouTube,
Yeah.
you can have one viewer. YouTube ain't going to axe you.
They should start up a YouTube channel. What's stopping them?
Well, you're seeing people do
They'll probably
that.
make more money that way.
Well, it's funny. If you look at television viewing in Australia, some of these programs, I think something like the footy show they were talking about was only getting 50,000 viewers.
Yeah, that's minuscule. You can get that
nothing.
in 1 hour on YouTube.
Yeah, there's easy. There's some of the creators that are quite good at what they do, of course, are getting that easily within minutes. You know, PewDiePie is getting close to 100 million subscribers now.
Yeah.
And he'd be getting 4 million views of a video. That is massive. 4 million. There was somewhere I read that somebody had 25 million subscribers. Right? That's the population of Australia.
Yeah.
It's following a person.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
It's absolutely massive. But again, we're talking about the 1%ers here. That if you think you're just going to start shooting daily videos on what you're up to during the day and think that you're going to go viral and all this kind of thing.
It's the same with Instagram influencers. There's a lot of fitness models and aspiring models or whatever they might be wanting to get that position. But it's really a siren-based system that only the top-tier producers, creators are going to be able to get there. And, there's a lot of aspiring people that just won't be able to monetize the way they do.
And I've worked with a couple of creators.
Yes.
And especially on Instagram. And it's very hard to make money out of Instagram. It's what the creator needs to view their work as is they're a marketing agency. And Instagram is one channel that you can offer to, if you're in fashion, you can offer your channel to promote other, some fashion lines. And that fashion company would pay for that service. But it's very much having that commercial nous to understand what value proposition you offer, that fashion brand. And it might not be just about putting a post on an Instagram. It's about working with them around some of their campaigns, in helping them with their fashion lines, helping them with their merchandising. We see these brand deals, and you take, for example, Peter McKinnon has just released a range of ND filters. He's partnered with another company.
Yeah.
Now, no doubt there's probably some royalty arrangement in that.
Yeah.
That's just a smart way that it's branded Peter McKinnon. Peter McKinnon will talk about it, and he'll shoot videos using that ND filter. And by the way, it looks really, really good.
Yeah.
And there'll be some sort of commercial arrangement, and all the smart content creators are smart business people at the same time. They're not just sitting there shooting videos, they're working out how to generate revenue out of it. And if not, there's organizations that are emerging that will work with some of these major content creators to connect them with companies. So that's the emerging thing as well. It's, okay, you've got a massive audience but you don't know how to commercialize it. Well, come to us, we'll take a cut and we'll work with you. But again, we're talking about the 1%ers and the guys and girls that are working day in, day out. And one of the other things that I want to talk about is, what is the cost of being a content creator? A true content creator that is daily producing original content. I'm not talking about a marketing agency that's getting paid to do it. I'm talking about an individual that wants to build their own brand around what they do. And I think we're starting to see the cracks open. That if you have to do it day in, day out, your life is just about capturing what you're doing day in, day out. You are living on the platforms, basically. And we're seeing people burn out.
Right.
And especially people that might have, some mental stability issues and things like that. It is very, very hard, and it consumes you.
Well, that's an interesting point, mental stability, because that's one of the reasons that Instagram spoke about removing the like count, because of the impact it has, especially on the younger people that are entering the space, because, it makes you feel inadequate. It makes you feel as though, you haven't achieved what you should have achieved compared to somebody else. And when you have those metrics displayed in front of you, it can be really demoralizing.
But it works the other way as well. That if you are getting a lot
If you're
of likes,
winning, yeah.
it goes to your head.
Great, yeah.
And you just start living in la la land. We've seen it, child actors that go off the rails. You know, it's that kind of thing. And you know, there's a YouTube channel that my kids watch, an Australian YouTube channel, and it's basically a bunch of young kids, a family of young kids. And they do a great job. They produce some really nice content. Obviously, their parents are behind it a lot and guiding them. But they're 12, 13, 14. What does it look like when they're 25?
It really depends, doesn't it, what they do with it, how far they can take it, if it has longevity, if the talent can develop and they can branch out into areas that suits the age group they're approaching. It's very difficult at that age because you haven't fully developed.
You have a look at child music stars and how much they struggle, you know, once they hit their 20s and 25, and it's very, very different. You know, we've seen people like Britney Spears have meltdowns, and it's very, very hard.
Growing up in the public.
When everyone's been telling them how wonderful they are and everybody adores them, and then suddenly you're not a young, cute kid anymore, you have those problems. And it's exactly the same with content creation. My experience of just doing 8 videos in 8 days and just living life through a lens, it wrecked me. I got sick. I wasn't sleeping. I lost 3 kilos in weight, which some would say is a good thing. But
but you didn't do it the right way, Silly. You've got to do it with the weights.
That's right. Well, you know, I've got to lift some more at the gym. But it was really, it's a really, really hard slog. And it was almost like you're living in la la land, because I would walk out of the hotel and I'm not joking, it felt like I was looking through a camera lens all the time. I was literally looking for something to shoot. I didn't have the camera up to my eye, but it was literally, I was in a different zone.
So that brings us to the next point about whether you have the suitability to be a content creator. So with all the pressure there is now to make sure that you are on social media, if you're a small brand or even a larger organization, having the understanding whether you've actually got what it takes to be a part of that process, or whether you need to outsource it and be involved in facilitating the work but not doing it yourself. And I think that's a very important question to ask up front. Do you have the ability to get on camera? Are you a good speaker? Can you do a podcast? Can you be creative with Photoshop and create artwork? Can you write articles? Do you have that core competency already in the business? If you don't, you are better off engaging somebody else to do it. So we know it's a given you need to be there, but maybe not you personally. Maybe somebody else in your organization should be doing it for you.
I reckon that we have the evidence to suggest that most people can't create content. And the example that I use is when we look at organizations, business, I'm talking business to business now, business to consumer as well, is that if you go and have a look at, say, how a business interacts on Facebook or on Instagram, they hardly ever do. They don't know what to say. On LinkedIn, they can write white papers, which I don't know who reads white papers, but anyway, they write white papers and they'll try to milk the white paper, and then they'll be at an event and they'll take photographs from the event and they'll put that out there, and they can do that kind of stuff. But they do it at a very minimal level, not nearly at the level that we've been talking about, which is greater frequency to get the cut through. And the problem is that they just actually do not know what to do. And I work with a couple of companies that engage me to create the content, and personally, I never have an issue in thinking of what to do. There's I will always challenge myself to come up with another piece of content and a different angle. And it's not necessarily coming up with, saying the same thing. Well, you say the same thing, but you say it in a different way. And that's repetition, which it gets recognition. So it's being smart enough to know what mix of content you need to put out there, and being able to actually create the content and put it out there. And that's where I think a lot of businesses are showing us through their inaction that they can't do it, that their own marketing staff are not getting involved enough in that creative aspect and not challenging themselves. So definitely I agree that in that instance, if you want to make the most out of your social channels and you can't create the content, then you need to outsource it to people that will take up that challenge and have that experience to be able to do it. And another little tip that I've got is, if you're working with a company that can really work closely with you to understand your business, your solutions, your market, etc., then keep them on, because the more time they spend with you, the more they're going to understand, the more valuable their content's going to become. So it's very, very difficult. Yes, it's a buzzword, content creation, but the proof is out there. Not everybody can do it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of benefit to be engaging somebody that's proficient in that core competency, and there's also the benefit of the creative synergy. So it's very difficult to do this stuff alone if you're not inherently a creative person, but if you can engage others that are creative, that will bring out that creativity within you.
Okay, so to wrap this up,
Yeah.
what are some of your top 3 to 5 tips that you reckon for content creators?
Okay,
I've put him on the spot.
you
Here.
put me on the spot now.
Do you want me to start?
You start off with yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, you've got to identify and have enough self-awareness to understand whether you've got the capabilities to actually truly be a content creator. It's not just about mucking around with the camera on a daily basis and putting out videos and thinking that people are going to follow you, because plenty have done that and
Yes.
plenty have failed. So what do you bring to the world, and what is your angle and what is your theme? I think has to be defined early on.
Yeah.
If you're into fashion, then it's great to say, yeah, I'm going to have fashion content, but what kind of fashion content? So we see the likes of Peter McKinnon and the content that he does around photography and videography is that he will give out tutorials. He's very much provides information education. It's very much education what he's providing.
Yeah.
And so that's his angle, and it works for him.
So that one can be defined as finding your voice, deciding who you are, knowing who you want to be, and speaking that truth. That's your first
There's a
tip.
lot of self-awareness to understand that.
Self-awareness.
So agree. The next thing is, just because you bought a camera and you bought the right audio microphone or all that kind of stuff doesn't mean that you're going to be a guru at it.
Yep.
We've seen this over the years that the Adobe Creative Suite it became very accessible for everybody, and suddenly everybody became a graphic designer and a photo editor. But they didn't. They just had the tools. Like, I've got a hammer, but I'm not a carpenter.
Yeah.
So same thing is, if you buy equipment, you need to invest the time and the effort to learn how to use those tools to the best of your abilities.
Yeah.
So that's a critical one. And then I suppose to round it up, the third point, and you raised this just at the end there, was that if you aren't great at it, and especially this is for people working in business, if you aren't great at it, look at getting somebody else that is. Because you will get the benefit from someone that is capable of doing it, and you'll get that frequency that you need to actually make a difference in your marketing when it comes to your social channels. So that's my sort of top 3.
Top 3, yeah. I'll finish off with the last 2 then. Consistency. So we mentioned volume, whatever. You've got to not have a particular number given by somebody else, but decide what that is that's going to suit your workflow. It's going to suit the time that you have available, but being consistent. So you don't start and then finish within 1 month, and then start again in 6 months, and then you can't have an ad hoc approach, because you're going to stop the momentum within yourself, and you're going to lose viewers, and everything that you've done to build your following will start to diminish. So consistency is number 1. And finally, really being true to yourself. So don't try and follow other people. Find out what you're interested in and what you want to be doing on social media, what sort of content you want to create, whether you are an educator, whether you are entertaining enough to be a comedian, you want to do viral videos. Find your voice and speak that, and don't try and imitate anyone else. Just be yourself. That's the final tip, I think.
I agree.
That authenticity speaks so much in social media, and you can see it when brands are trying to do it as well, whether it's an individual or a brand. It really sells them short when they're trying to imitate somebody else.
Yeah, imitation is a shocker. You look at vloggers like Casey Neistat started a trend, but he's still ahead of everybody else when it comes to vlogging, and so many people tried to rip him off. And then people would sort of claim, oh, well, you're just ripping off Casey Neistat, and you just ruined it all. So you got to be yourself.
It's really unfair to say that, because what he's doing isn't particularly unique. He's sitting in front of a camera. There's a few little tricks that he does that with the writing on paper or whatever. If somebody did that, there was a visual reference. But just sitting in front of a camera talking, you can't really accuse somebody of ripping that off. But maybe, for example,
It's the way his story tells, though. I think with Casey Neistat, his popularity was based on his ability to tell the story.
Yeah.
And he just communicates really well.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. The one thing I see is that not everybody's a great communicator. I don't rate myself as a great communicator. I can talk.
I think you're doing well. But
I'm practicing. That's
like
why I'm
everyone
doing
else,
this
we're
podcast.
practicing, we're getting better, and it is a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. Another example, we always speak about Gary Vee. If you look at his early work in the wine library compared to now, but one of the reasons people like him, some hate him, but most people like him, is that he really comes across as being so authentic that if you were to have dinner with him one night or meet him at work, that's who you're going to be getting.
Yeah.
His personality is so genuine. He doesn't pull any punches. He seems to be himself, and that's the attraction.
Well, authenticity, I think, is what fascinates people nowadays, what they search for. I think
Yes.
That one good thing about content creators is they've brought about this concept of authenticity, that they're exposed the marketing fluff in a kind of way. So now you have to be more authentic and more real in the way that you approach the audience to win them over. And I love that. I'm sick of marketing fluff and campaigns to try to suck people in rather than campaigns that really show that, hey, I've got a product or a service that's really going to help you. Let me demonstrate to how that happens. So there's been a massive upside to society as a result of social media. We always talk about the negatives, but there has been a massive upside.
In bringing out the truth, bringing out an authentic voice.
Yep, you can't hide.
Yeah.
You can't hide rubbish.
And that's also a comparison that I make between when I watch TV. If I rarely come across TV in the morning, if I happen to switch it on and I see the traditional news presenter reading off a teleprompter compared to watching a YouTuber express their opinion, I definitely gravitate towards a YouTuber with a lower production value, with all the flaws in the audio, in the visuals not being as well produced. Every single issue, I'll take the opinion of the YouTuber over the presenter on TV.
Gary Vee talks about don't let perfection lead to sort of inaction.
Yes.
And we see that a lot. And again, people are seeing video content and comparing it to, say, a television ad. Yeah, okay, go and spend $1 million in shooting your ad.
There's always a place for well-produced ads and movies.
There is, but
people love it. But
not everybody can afford to do it and have the expertise to do it. But often you can see someone like Casey Neistat went crazy on YouTube, and he shot it with a Canon 80D and a Canon 70D with a microphone attached to the top.
Yeah.
He didn't have any assistants to do anything, and he was doing it daily. That's what grew his audience. And he was outperforming most news channels as a result of that, 1 million views.
Yeah.
So it's not about being perfect all the time. And you'd be like me, Johnny, that you shoot a video and you get critical. Oh, that light wasn't right. The focus was slightly out. And whatever. And you know what? Nobody else can see it.
Yeah.
If you're involved in the industry, yes, you're going to see these little things. Like I did a case study video and recently, and it's on touchscreen computers, and some of the people that use touchscreen computers still use a keyboard as well. They sort of mingle both. And so I'm talking about touchscreen computers, and at one point there was some B-roll footage of a guy tapping on the keyboard. I can't see it. And the customer might see it, but their customer's customer, the end user, it goes that quickly in the B-roll that you're not going to sit there and go, oh, no, I need to change that. So we might be more critical than others, but when push comes to shove, it doesn't need to be perfect.
Yeah, the content should take priority over the creative. True. What we're saying here.
And then you can't be perfect and frequent at the same time. Something else.
There's got to be a balance between the two.
Can't do it.
Pay a little bit of respect to the production quality, but focus on the content. That's the final message, I guess.
Okay, now.
All right, moving along to the new segment we created last week, the Web Leaks, which takes inspiration from the famous, or rather infamous. WikiLeaks. I think there's some hope for Julian yet. I heard that Chelsea Manning was released from jail recently.
Well,
so that's
I don't know how
a good
he's
sign.
funding all these legal challenges.
I think there's been some donations. I think there's been people doing it for free, some pro rata stuff.
Would be better things to donate your money to.
Well, I reckon it's a worthy cause, but maybe we'll see how we go there. But anyway, taking inspiration from the man.
Sponsors for our Web Leaks.
We'll see.
Segment.
Our stuff is less controversial, but still very enthralling. And this week's Web Leak is about Dyson, the vacuum cleaner company.
Oh, I think I've seen this. Yeah,
you've seen this.
Go on.
There was a prototype leaked that came about from one of the patents that was registered of a potential EV. So there's been some speculation since around 2015 when Dyson bought the factory of a battery cell manufacturer, so solid state battery. At that point, people were saying they're going to build an electric vehicle. They've put it together an engineering team that was based in England, now being moved to Singapore. They couldn't get the factory they wanted in England, the deal they wanted, so they're now going to manufacture this thing in Singapore. And the prototype looks a little bit like a Range Rover.
Does it?
Yeah.
Doesn't look like a vacuum cleaner.
No. So we saw some memes created where you have a vacuum cleaner on wheels, and that was hysterical. But this particular prototype is just an indication of the basic form factor. So it looks like an SUV.
Yeah.
So we're thinking that it'll be positioned somewhere along the lines of Tesla's Model X SUV,
That'd be
and going for that space, and a Range Rover. So in terms of the look of it, an SUV format. So
can Dyson go from a vacuum cleaner manufacturer
to the major manufacturer?
Will they
of
be
EVs?
respected enough?
Look, I think that is it John Dyson? What's his name? James. Yeah, I think James Dyson has as much respect as Elon Musk in terms of being that crazy inventor.
Yeah.
That has the ability to do anything. So what he ends up producing will probably be innovative. And what they're saying about it is that even the Tesla vehicle, even though the core technology was quite innovative, they're using a lot of parts that are available amongst other car manufacturers. So
they'd have to,
whether it be the tires, the mirrors, and all the smaller components, the cooling systems, they're getting generic parts as well as their specifically designed parts.
Well, I've got a lot of fears for Tesla because they're churning through money.
Yeah.
Absolutely churning. And
and they're not selling as much as they
No, and they've got production issues. And
Yeah.
as Elon Musk sort of said, that, it's hard making when you've got one manufacturing facility, whereas someone like Volkswagen has manufacturing facilities all around the world, so they can spread that load. But they need more money to get to the point where they can make a profit. And how long can they keep on going? And how long are people willing to keep on investing in Tesla? And when you think about it, on the horizon, all the major car manufacturers are going to release an electric car.
Yeah. So not only Dyson, but we've got Porsche indicating a release for next year, the Taycan, which is their new, looks like a 911, but it's an electric vehicle.
Hyundai's got one coming. Everybody, between the next 2 years, every manufacturer will have an electric car out there. So it's going to be very... I love Tesla. I love the Tesla SUV.
Yeah.
It's a great car. But will they be able to compete against these other behemoths? Because their price point's pretty high.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to say for Dyson is... at what's the price point going to be for a Dyson?
Yeah, but just looking at the prototype, if it is anything like if it is anything like this Range Rover type of vehicle SUV, it'd probably be 180 plus, similar to the Tesla X, which would be very expensive vacuum cleaner.
Imagine if you could have an attachment underneath the car
that cleans the road at the same time.
Yeah, everybody with the Dyson's cleaning the road, and then you get a rebate from the local council because you clean the road.
Yeah, and your pro-environment, next level environmental stuff there. Yeah, so look, that's a possibility. So that's a web leak for this week, but unfortunately we won't get to confirm it probably till 2021, which was when it's due to be released. But
we're set to go viral, so Dyson no doubt is going to give us a car.
They should, shouldn't they? Do you reckon Tesla will? We mentioned their name too.
I'll have a chat with Elon.
Oh, you will? Okay. Can you get us on his space rocket as well?
Well, I'll probably fly over there on his rocket. And,
okay. So we'll fly over on our helicopter and he'll take us on his rocket to the moon.
That's true. I'm just waiting for the helicopter to come back with the drinks because it's dropped the food off. So
okay, well, let's go and do that then. But it's been a good episode, so hopefully you've enjoyed it. Just remember that we're on iTunes, the Now Podcast with Silly and Johnny. You can also get us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at Silly and Johnny. Until next
Johnny.
time. Thanks, Silly. It's been fun.
See you episode. What are we
6 it'll be next. This is 5, I think.
We've got no idea what we're doing in the next episode.
We'll find out. I don't think we will. We do yet, do we? Do you want to come up with one now? Will I put you on the spot? Give us something. No. Okay.
No.
Let's leave it as a surprise then for next week.
It'll be a surprise.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Whatever it will be, it'll be great. See you then.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks, Johnny.